who should make the Kagurabachi anime? Ufotable. If that's all you wanted, that's it really. You're good. Now, for everyone still here and wants to listen to me just talk about Kagurabachi, then hey, thanks. I am loving the Kagurabachi manga right now. I definitely don't read enough manga, but I do put aside the time every Sunday to read Kagurabachi on the Shonen Jump app. I remember seeing it pop up that first time and thinking the same thing I think when I see a lot of cool manga covers. That's cool. And then moving on. But then I started seeing all the memes and I decided to check it out. And no, Kagurabachi's not the best thing ever like the memes were memeing, but I think it's really good. For those of you who don't know, Kagurabachi was the hottest new manga for about a month after it released its first chapter. This was pretty much just because of memes. I mean, people were saying it was better than the big three. It was even better than Dragon Ball, all with just one chapter out. Now, I don't know how the internet works, so I don't know why the Kagurabachi memes took off the way they did, but I'm happy about it because it got a lot of people, including myself, to give Kagurabachi a try. From how I remember it, a big opinion on Kagurabachi was that it just felt kind of basic or at the very least done before. So some people thought they had already seen everything Kagurabachi had to offer and they fell off. But I think a majority of people stuck around because while it's not doing anything crazy or new, it's doing what it's doing at the highest level. On the surface, the base level of Kagurabachi is a revenge story. The main character, Chihiro, is the son of the world's greatest swordsmith who created the 7 enchanted blades that ended the last Great War. One day, a group of people kill Chihiro's father and steal 6 of the enchanted blades. The real story starts years later with Chihiro hunting down the people who killed his father and stole the enchanted blades with his own enchanted blade, the last one his dad made. So yeah, on the surface, it's nothing new, but like I said, I think Kagurabachi is doing what it's doing better than most of the stories that have done this stuff before. It seems like a simple revenge story, but from how I've read Kagurabachi, Chihiro isn't just trying to kill the people who killed his father, and he's not just trying to collect the enchanted blades. He's trying to save his father's legacy. To Chihiro's father, the swords were meant to protect people. That's why Chihiro isn't just grabbing a sword and killing everyone who wronged him, because that's not what his father would want. Chihiro is using his blade to stop the people who would use the blades to cause harm and destruction. It's why he makes protecting people his first priority in every situation. And this is what makes Chihiro so different. It's easy to look at Chihiro and think, oh boy, here's another cool edgelord who wears all black and never smiles because he's so serious. And yes, he is most of those things, but he also has the heart of a shonen protagonist. You see this as early as in the 3rd chapter when we meet Char, a little girl who's just asking for protection from bad guys. The first thing Chihiro does when he meets Char is ask her if she's hungry. He sees a scared little girl who is all alone, and he just wants to make sure she's okay. At no point does he ever lose his cool or get annoyed with Char because he's not a dick. Char isn't some kind of distraction from his main goal. She's not a nuisance to him. She is someone who is in danger and Chihiro is going to protect her. It is only when Char is safe does he ever refocus on finding the enchanted blades. It's all the simple little bonding moments they have that are normally around food. So when Chihiro goes and saves Char and brings her some food, it just shows how important Char has become to Chihiro in such a short time. Way later in chapter 27, Chihiro meets another child. This one is trying to save his sister from being auctioned off, and Chihiro saves the kid when he's in danger. And instead of scolding the kid for doing something stupid, he tells him good job. And even when the kid corrects Chihiro on his name, Chihiro has no problem going with it to make the kid happy. Chihiro doesn't have the same attitude his dad did, so he can't be as silly or make as many jokes as his dad, but Chihiro still has a softer side that he got because of how his dad used to treat him. And I just think it's nice to see from a guy who is actively decapitating people minutes later. But I do still think the most important interactions Chihiro has are the ones he has with Hakuri, a member of the Sazanami clan and the son of the man who is in charge of the auction and currently in possession of another of the enchanted blades. Chihiro almost immediately trusts Hakuri, and they very quickly become willing to risk their lives to protect one another. As of recording this, the latest chapter to come out is chapter 47. And while it hasn't been a lot, I love Chihiro's development we have gotten so far. The way he reflects on his life and way of thinking as he meets different people feels really well done to me. I also do appreciate that we kind of just jumped straight into it. Like, we didn't see his training arc, we didn't see him learning to use a sword or anything like that. Like, he's just going. Anyway, you get it. Chihiro's great, but the cool thing is, he's only one character. Everyone else is also great. The development Hakuri has gotten in such a short time is awesome. He went from the crybaby Zenitsu type to this. And I like how his story is so similar to Chihiro's, with the focus being on the legacy of his family, specifically his father. But where Chihiro is trying to save his father's legacy, Hakuri wants to destroy his father's legacy. He wants to change the Sazanami because he sees people as people and not like things to be auctioned. Char has the cuteness of Anya and tragic backstory of Eri, and it made me care for her just as quickly as Chihiro did. Mr. Shiba is this cool guy who's friends with Chihiro's dad from the war times, and was also the one who found Chihiro after they killed his dad, so it makes sense why he's helping Chihiro so much, and I'm sure they have an almost familial bond at this point. Mr. Shiba also has a lot of crazy abilities, so that, plus his past, he's probably the character I want to learn the most about. Sojo as the first real antagonist was incredible. I mean, making him a fanboy of Chihiro's father was already fun, but making him have a completely different viewpoint on the enchanted blades than how Chihiro and his father viewed them was so smart and just great for Chihiro's development. He also just looked sick. The Kamunabi is the government organization that's trying to get the enchanted blades too, so they kind of work with Chihiro to obtain them, but getting all the blades would also mean that they don't want Chihiro to have any of them, so they've butted heads a few times. But as of this most recent chapter, Chihiro has decided to join the Kamunabi to work together to get the enchanted blades, which I think is another great moment for Chihiro. It shows how willing he is to change in order to, not have to fight these people constantly and possibly kill them when they're not necessarily the bad guys. So yeah, less than 50 chapters in, I love the story and I love the characters. But ever since the first chapter, one thing has always been clear to me. The artwork for Kagurabachi is insane. There's probably a panel in each chapter that is just cold as fuck or goes unbelievably hard. And the fights are they're so easy to follow without by any means being like too basic of fights. So yeah, Kagurabachi, fantastic. Go watch any other video on YouTube about it. Go read the comments. The majority of opinions on Kagurabachi, at least that I see, are positive. So much so that apparently Kishimoto himself, the creator of Naruto, is recommending it. It's that good. And I strongly believe it deserves an anime adaptation. And I would love if the anime was as good as the manga is. And for me, that's where Ufotable comes in. Now, just to make things crystal clear, I do not make manga. I do not turn them into anime. I know very little that isn't already on the surface about the creation of manga or anime. And I also don't know what every anime studio ever has done. I know what I know, and it's probably not that much more than the average weeb. So everything here is my opinion, and my opinion probably is not all that informed. Cool? Cool. So like I said, Ufotable should be the ones to make the Kagurabachi anime. You most likely know Ufotable for making Demon Slayer, so the obvious reason they should do Kagurabachi, it's cool swords. The stupid easy answer for me was who's done cool stuff with swords. And Ufotable's right there with Demon Slayer. I mean, the animation they do over there, I think is some of the best we're getting out of anime currently. So of course, I want that quality for a Kagurabachi anime. And of course, plenty of other studios make great animation, but Ufotable has the experience with cool swords. So that's what made me think of them first. The more I thought about it, the more it kind of started to make sense to me. Ufotable has focused on Demon Slayer since 2019, and it shows with the quality of Demon Slayer. But they just finished their final season of Demon Slayer, and they're gonna be finishing it up with a trilogy of movies. I think they get those 3 movies out within the next 3 years. I think 1 year from now, we see the first of those movies, and then from there, it all comes out within the span of 2 years from that point. This way, everyone gets plenty of time to work on it, but also it's not going to leave too much space between the movies for people to kind of lose interest. But after those movies are done, Ufotable is going to be wide open to focus on a new project. And if the manga goes for that long, in 3 years, we'll have well over 150 chapters of Kagurabachi, which would give Ufotable plenty of space to never have to worry about catching up and waiting for the manga, like what happened with, Boruto. We don't need all that filler. But speaking of filler, let's talk about that last season of Demon Slayer. They took 12 chapters from the manga and made it 8 episodes. 2 of those episodes being extended. So about 10 episodes out of 12 chapters. I think the average anime episode adapts 3 chapters of a manga, so as you can see, Ufotable decided to extend this arc, which was already kind of a nothing arc, so realistically, you can look at the first 7 episodes of this season as filler. That being said, I still thought this season was fun. Worst season of Demon Slayer? Maybe, but I like Demon Slayer. We still got a lot of great character moments and awesome fights. I assume they knew they wanted to do something big for the Infinity Castle, and considering how well they did with Mugen Train, movies made sense. That did mean that after Swordsmith Village, they had to figure out what they wanted to do with the Hashira training. And I appreciated getting some more time with the Hashira and making me care a little more about them before they go into the big final battle. For as little as it did, the Hashira training was still important. It's what gets us to the Infinity Castle. So it was necessary to have in the anime. And I honestly think they did the best that they could. I think Demon Slayer has always been good about how it chooses to adapt certain arcs. The first season was 26 episodes and covered a lot of the small arcs. Then they went straight into the movie with Mugen Train. Then they did small seasons for Entertainment District, Swordsmith Village, and Hashira Training. And now we're back to movies. So I like that they're willing to change it up and adapt how they're actually putting out the adaptation, depending on how it played out in the manga. Right now, I don't think a Kagurabachi anime would need to break up seasons as much as Demon Slayer did, but it'll be a nice safety net in case something crazy does come up. I think those are the biggest reasons Ufotable makes the most sense to me. The timing with Demon Slayer ending soon, Ufotable's willingness to make a season longer or shorter or do a movie, depending on what best suits the arc, and of course, cool swords. Again, those are just the big ones though. I still think Ufotable's great at everything else too. Like I said, I think they have some of the best animation right now, but they also have incredible colors and backgrounds, moving and memorable music and sound design, great voice acting. Yeah, sometimes they use too much CGI. Honestly, I don't mind. It's kind of just like on fish sometimes. So, whatever. I think the only actual bad thing about Demon Slayer is the one thing that's out of Ufotable's control. I mean, is it still a hot take to say that the writing of Demon Slayer is kind of a mess? Like, I don't hate it, but I don't watch Demon Slayer because of how invested I am in these characters and their stories. Like, it plays out the exact same every time. Every Demon Slayer gets a sad backstory at their lowest point in a fight right before they get back into the fight and do a super cool thing. And demons get sad backstories after they've already started dying. Like, they're in the process of dying when they get their sad backstory. But the thing is, all of these backstories are only for us, the audience. They don't do anything for anyone else because no one else ever knows about them. One of the big themes in Demon Slayer is sibling relationships. And you would think that with every relationship we're introduced to, it would have some kind of impact on Tanjiro and Nezuko. But that never happens. Tanjiro and Nezuko are perfect. So it's actually more like Tanjiro and Nezuko have impacts on every other sibling relationship, except when that happens, it's happening to like demons who, again, die immediately after reflecting upon their lives. So it's actually just pointless. And a lot of the backstories just tell you like who a person was or why they are the way they are when we meet them, but we get very little actual development from characters. The only characters who actually go through significant amounts of development are probably just like Genya and Muichiro. Like all of the Hashira went from not liking Tanjiro because he had a demon with him to just being like, yeah, all right, that's fine, whatever. Because Tanjiro is one of, 5 non-Hashira members of the Corps who's worth a damn? So most of them are just like, yeah, all right, cool, whatever. But Genya and Muichiro are completely different from where they are at currently in the anime compared to how we first met them. For me, the weird thing is that they grew and developed because of the impact that Tanjiro had on them. I think for the most part, you want your main character to interact with people who are going to change and develop them. Like, I think that's what we tried to do with Rengoku, but like, nothing about Tanjiro ever actually changed because of what happened with Rengoku. Tanjiro is still the exact same character he is from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And yeah, I like Tanjiro because everyone likes Tanjiro, except these two. They just suck. But because I already like Tanjiro and he's not changing or growing, I don't want to follow him the entire time. The best characters in Demon Slayer are Genya and Muichiro because they are the ones changing. It really makes you wonder why we didn't get like more of this instead of, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, the boys are fun, but these two don't get any development until the Infinity Castle. And like, it's good development, but what were we doing with them for the last 4 seasons and a movie? Could have been getting more of this. Like, at the very least, make Genya one of the boys. I just think the story of Demon Slayer is kind of sloppy. And yet, I would argue, Demon Slayer has become one of the most iconic anime. I do not think you can go to a con and not see one of these cloaks, or Inosuke's Boarhead. Like, I honestly believe this stuff has all become second only to the Akatsuki robes in terms of notoriety. Like, if you know anime, you will recognize these. Demon Slayer is huge, and I think a significant part of that is how well it was adapted into an anime. So imagine what would happen if the team that made this, as iconic as it is, was in charge of adapting a manga that's already taken over the internet once and has a fantastic story behind it. And again, cool swords. Fuck! I just spent all this time talking about Ufotable and specifically Demon Slayer, and then I see this! And I mean, of course they should do that. Of course they should do Genshin. People love Genshin. I've never played it. I don't care. But, like, I know that people love Genshin. That makes so much sense. But if they do Genshin, then they're probably not going to do Kagurabachi. It's all pointless now. Everything I just talked about. I just complained about Demon Slayer for no reason. And now I just don't know. Like, Mappa, I guess. That's what everyone was saying when the manga came out. Everyone was like, ooh, Mappa should do this one too, because they do everything. Now I really need people to comment on this one and tell me who should make the Kagurabachi anime. Like, I was going to say that anyway, just as like a, hey, comment, so algorithm. But, like, no, I want to actually know who should make the Kagurabachi anime now that Ufotable seems to not be an option. Anyway, thanks. See ya.